some of the other individuals that you'll be hearing from Jeff Reynolds, who is the chair for our government relations and our amazing treasurer, which has been a very big job lately. We also have Lyle Campbell, who is our outgoing president, but also is our ALAC representative, as well as Jeff Reynolds. So they'll be talking about that soon. Janet Cornell is part of our membership committee and is spearheading that with Rachel Robertson. And Janet and Rachel have also, as well as Tamara, have created our COVID white paper that we're going to talk about very soon. We also have Blake Crawford, who is an associate member of ours and has been amazingly helpful in some of the contract work and has some exciting things he's working on to help all of us with COVID. Then we also have Matt Kaufman, who represents the Colorado Springs area. Liz Littleton, who isn't logged on quite yet. She's our newest board member, her and Rachel, so we're really excited to have her on board. Tamara has been doing a lot of work with our community relations and COVID paper and everything, really. She's just had been a great resource and a great board member addition. So the changes in CALA is obviously we have a lot of new faces on the board. We're really, really excited. We have a lot of energy and we can't wait to start, well, we have been, and that's part of what we want to talk to you all about is some of the things we've been doing and have in the works for supporting the small assisted livings. And also to kind of let you know, we have had some changes of leadership. Corky Kyle's contract is no longer active with CALA, so we are transitioning our CALA office. So the phone number will be changing, the address will be changing. Peter will make sure to keep all of that updated on the website so that everybody can contact us. Oh my goodness, yes, Tamara. So I'm so sorry, I totally forgot the queen bee of the CALA board. Eileen Doherty has joined us from the Gerontological Society. And I mean, I can't even express to you how blessed we have her as part of our board. And I mean, her experience is just vital and she's really helped us a lot with everything we're working with as well. So thank you, Tamara. I can't believe I read right past Eileen's name. So yeah, so we are actively looking for representation at the Capitol. We're interviewing lobbyists. We are really excited that Peter and Carol are helping us a lot with the website and some of our back office things. We're about ready to launch education and conference ideas, and but we'll definitely start to talk about that as we work down the agenda. Again, the chat box is open, so please, feel free to mention to me what else I might forget, because I'm sure it's going to be quite a bit. And I do want to go ahead and introduce Jeff, and Jeff can give everyone an exciting update on the GRC. Jeff's also the treasurer, so any questions about money go directly to Jeff. Thank goodness. So Jeff, take it away.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you to all of you who are joining us today. This is just a major honor to have you on with us. We appreciate you carving time out of your busy days and just taking an hour with us here. I'll try not to go, I think a big part of this is to allow you all time to give input, ask questions, whatever it is you want to know about CALA and what's going on with us in the state. We want to be able to try to respond to that. And I'll mention briefly that this term rebirth that Nicole has chosen, I think it's appropriate. About a year or so ago, Nicole and Tamara and I began to talk about what's needed for a revival of CALA, and the answers were more people on the board and the right kind of people on the board. And that has happened. And Nicole has also done just a fabulous job at tightening the reins in some areas and loosening them in others. And we want you to know that we are on the move, and we're ready to serve you all just in every way possible. My role is, aside from treasurer, is chair of the Government Relations Committee. I'm going to quickly give you all some names here. Janet Cornell, Nicole, who you just heard from, Tamara Muir, Sherry Bonham, Rachel Robertson. You're going to be hearing more about her in a little while. Lyle Campbell, Dennis Quinn, David Lewis, and Megan Hart. What I'll share with those of you who have had no interaction with CALA, what I'll share with you all is that every one of these folks is a small assisted living owner. For the most part, they all own just homes like we have that have been converted to residential assisted living. And so they are out and have been over the last few months fighting hard on your behalf to make significant change with both CDPHE and whoever else we need to begin to confront to turn things around for the smalls of Colorado. Those of you who are large facility owners, absolutely, there also will be much in this for you. We have some wonderful, we believe, deliverables coming your way as well. For now, the way the new regs are written, they are a little bit biased, in our opinion, against the smalls. And so we're going to be focusing there for a while, but those of you who own the big facilities, I want you to know that you'll be included as well. And two other items I'll mention just briefly. Our mission statement, if you will, I would say, I would boil it down to this sentence, and that is, we want to support CDPHE where we can, and then we're going to confront them when we need to. And for those of you who aren't aware, we've already had several phone calls with them. To most of them, unfortunately, have had to be to confront. I'm sure there'll be opportunities to support in the future, but right now our focus with them is COVID and the new regs that are coming out January 1. Jot this down if you would on your note sheet there or somewhere. The Board of Health hearing for the new regs is coming December 16th. I'll not drill down into those details yet. I'll just say that we are preparing a document for the BOH to make very clear that after a couple of years of work with these folks, we've not been listened to in the way that we felt that we need to. Briefly regarding COVID, you'll hear more from Janet on that in a bit. I want to share with you all, for those that did not see this, I'm going to put Rachel on the spot here. For those of you that did not see this last night, Rachel, one of our newest board members, appeared on Denver, CBS Channel 4, and did an interview with Brian Moss in which she very well expressed and described the plight that we're up against as small facilities with COVID. So we're very grateful and proud of her. When you get a chance, try to hop out to our website and get a look at that if you haven't seen it already. So with that, I'm going to wrap up here, and I think I'm turning this one over to Lyle. And Lyle's going to talk about a little bit about what we've been through in the last couple of years with CDPHE on the new regs and our interaction with the ALAC committee. So I'll hand it over to you, Lyle.
Okay. Well, as most of you know, we've had a small work group that started 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. And what we did was we went through the regs in 5 sections, line by line, and tried to make our suggestions to the health department to change what we saw as overburdensome or cumbersome rules and regs for small assisted living homes, 20 and under. So the health department met with us for over 2 years. We had more meetings between ourselves before the health department meetings. We went over everything, and to sum it all up at the end, we were disappointed because the 2 biggest things that we had on our agenda, the awake staff and the FGI, were totally blown away by the health department. They just wouldn't listen to anything. So those are still 2 lingering issues. We plan to address those issues ongoing. We need all the people we can get to join Kayla. We need to have a lot of support. And one thing everybody can do, the Board of Health meeting is December 16th. We have until December 10th to get letters and other correspondence into the Board of Health. So if you can sit down, write up a letter explaining why you believe that awake staff or FGI or some of the kitchen regulations would severely impact your facility as far as cost and manpower or whatever it is, mainly costs, because we're not reimbursed from Medicaid for all the work we do. If you can get those letters sent off to the Board of Health before December 10th, that would be a big help. They would understand then that there's a lot of us out there that are feeling the same way. So if we can get that done, we're going to plan to have somebody representing Kayla at the Board of Health hearing. They only give everybody 3 minutes to speak, so that's not much of an opportunity. But if you write letters to the Board of Health, they'll read them before the meeting and they'll take that into consideration. After that, then we have to go through legislation or other means to make changes. But we really need people to all come together, because united we stand and divided we fall. And the health department has done a good job of dividing us up and keeping us fighting one by one instead of in mass. And we need to really unite and show them a united front and understand that we're not going to take this lying down. We're not going to put up with this. So anyway, get those letters off to the Board of Health. Keep your eyes on your email for upcoming Kayla meetings and information. And I believe that Peter will be able to get an address for the Board of Health, the email address up for everybody if you don't know where to send your letters. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jeff, and we'll continue with this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Lyle. And just a little adjustment here in our program. I think maybe hear from Janet in just a couple of minutes. I wonder if we could go ahead and have Tamara hop in and share what we want to be sure we get this in here. Tamara's doing some amazing things with some of the other very exciting things with some of the other associations. So Tamara, can you share a bit on your side?
Sure. I'm Tamara Mir, and I own a small 8-bed facility up in Fort Collins. I used to have 3. And then over the course of the past couple of years, I have downsized to just 1, which, as you know, even running 1 is a handful. I have been a non-member of CALA probably 3 times the amount that I've ever been a member. I was recruited with a promise of change. And I hope that after today's meeting, you'll feel that promise of change as well. I think we've come a long way in the past couple months, and I'm really excited to work with the team of people that we have. And I'm really excited to change this organization over to a member-driven organization rather than somebody dictating what our needs and wants are. We have a lot of challenges and we have a lot of work happening, and we're going to need all hands on deck to try to make things better for all of us. If nothing else, COVID has taught us a lot in making things even more challenging. I am a member of the ALAC committee appointed. My term is through the end of through May of this next spring, although they're trying to replace me sooner than later, I think, just because I'm more vocal. I'm also a QMAP first aid and CPR instructor, so they'll be sponsoring on the CALA website upcoming, hopefully, to offer some resources for you. My role has been kind of rapidly changing. I've been on the GRC. I've kind of just dealt with whatever comes up for the moment. Helped with writing the COVID press release to get that out, which obviously we had some listeners with the broadcast last evening, which was really exciting for all of us as a first step. I've been reaching out to other organizations that share similar values and have sort of similar paths to issues in our industry. One of them is the Denver ALR group, ran by Vern Harris. Some of you may have heard about that group. They meet the last Wednesday of every month in the evening, and there's usually some format of networking as well as educational opportunities, both for investor type operators as well as small business owner operators like all of us. So really excited to be working with them. They have a meeting upcoming tomorrow night. Just an FYI, if you can participate and kind of get to know people, there's a lot of really wonderful people that I've met so far in that organization and on those meetups. Another group we've been working with is a Denver group, the GDPRA, which is a placement agency, and they have a lot of CALA small business owners, small business homeowners as well, not all of them CALA. And they also, because they prefer placement in assisted livings and have a lot of clients out there and have a lot in the small industry, they really are concerned about our viability. And so they want to help us succeed in network and help us along the way. They have a lot of educational opportunities that we're planning to host together with them and grow that. And then the other one is the at a national level, which is called RALNA, Residential Assisted Living National Assisted. I forget what the numbers, what the letters all stand for, but they also kind of piggyback into the Denver ALR group, and that is 12,000 members across the U.S. And so when we're trying to get numbers and power and voice, it's a really good opportunity for us to network with them. And anybody who's a member of CALA can be a free member with them. There'll be some perks to be kind of conjoined with them as well. And, they take it at a different level so we can get national exposure. So a lot of good, still out there trying to find more organizations to work with. I think, there's just so much that we weave with a lot of different agencies and groups. And so if you have ideas for me to reach out to, by all means, put them in the chat or email me. And I just want to thank all of you for being here. And like I said, I hope that after today's presentation that you can feel the energy and the excitement and the interest to make CALA what it should have been all these years. Thanks.
Nicole, do we have time to hear from Janet a little bit now?
Oh yeah, totally. So if Janet would like to talk about all the exciting things with the COVID paper and also our exciting membership drive, we'll let Janet run with it, her and Rachel.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'm excited to be part of the CALA board. We've really got some good momentum going. We've got some awesome people. We're all thinking alike in that we want more support from the Colorado State Health Department. And we also want to offer an arm of support to others in our industry. I've been with Millbrook Homes 18 years. We run group homes. I've been the administrator for 13 years, and I also do some consulting on the side with any administrators that are struggling to keep it all together, because we all know group homes are not as easy as they appear to run. So with that, we all banded together, late summer to start working on, we were unhappy with the COVID guidelines that we were given, the checklist that we had to do distancing and we had to quarantine and isolate and all that. So that's how it kind of started. And we rewrote that document and presented it to the state health department. They are in the process right now of reviewing that. And they are supposed to come out with different guidelines for smaller ALRs because we are so different than the large facilities. So we are making inroads on that to get them to realize that a small 8 to 10 bed place runs different than a place that has 40 beds. So we should have different rules and guidelines and that kind of thing. So we're excited to get that out. April from the state health department thought she could get it to us before Thanksgiving, but she got swamped with other things. So we're following up with her to make sure that we can get those. As soon as we get those, we'll be putting those out to everybody so that you don't miss them. It's very hard to know what you missed with the CDPHE because there's so many new updates and you don't know what you're supposed to be reading and what you read and what you already read, that kind of stuff. So we'll be updating you on that. That prompted us to also put together a position paper and the press release. The position paper went to all of you and all, I think 650 facilities got that, the position paper that we wrote on what we think it should look like as far as our regulations and what we're happy with and what we're not happy with. So, and then yesterday I did get a call from CBS to put together a small segment with them. And so we quickly got Rachel on the line. She had no time to practice or come up with her spiel. I thought she did an awesome job for, I don't know, 30 seconds of prep time Brian Moss gave her. So it turned out to be awesome. But that's what kind of response that we have is very quick and to the point. And we want to be an advocate for all assisted livings. And we certainly want to make sure that our small industries, small beds are, represented well, and also the larger facilities because we do operate differently. So I'm excited to be on the board, all the exciting changes. If you need a copy of that position paper, we can get that to you. Just let us know and we'll make sure you get that if you have not seen it. And then we've just got a lot going on. And then the next step is we don't really stop. We just move to the next project. Our next project is the regulation revisions and how we do not feel that they supported the small groups that worked on it. And I'm also an ALAC committee member, and I do not feel that they really listened to us. I think they checked the box that said, yes, we worked with them and here's what we'll do. So they didn't make very many concessions. And so we're still pushing for better regulations. So did I miss anything?
Yes, our exciting membership stuff.
Oh yes, and I'm also the membership chair along with Rachel. So we'll be reaching out to you guys with some membership information soon and trying to get more members. I would really like to see CALA return to a day of 250 members. And really be a strong association that supports our industry. I think a loud voice of 250 facilities gets heard better than a smaller, group of us. And I think CALA will be able to be a stronger voice with all of you joining us. So we'll be reaching out to you soon and answering any questions that you have on membership.
Thank you, Janet.
Yep.
Rachel, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I was wondering if you could share a little bit. Rachel is going to be doing, and Sherry, which I don't think Sherry from Applewood is on, but Rachel is going to be doing our education in a couple of weeks and has a unique perspective regarding COVID. And I'll let her share with you some of the things that she's going to share with us at our first education.
Hi, everybody. Okay, well, my name is Rachel. I've been in the assisted living industry for 13 years. So I've seen a lot of changes. I've been in and out of CALA for a long time too. Just like Tammy, we finally have shifted because we see a movement that we want to be part of. And I think that's what brings all of us together and creating a stronger organization and a huge support system. I know Janet just mentioned that. And that's really where I hope we can be, especially since a lot of us are dealing with a lot of these challenges related to COVID, especially this year. And I know we're all inundated with all these regulations, constant push down of paperwork and what we need to implement into our homes and our larger assisted livings as well. And so I think next week, my goal, it's next week, or is it a couple weeks, Nicole, I think, that we're doing an education piece on COVID. And I had a complete outbreak in my home, and there was 18 of us that all got COVID. So there was a lot of challenges that we dealt with during that whole process. And, you know, we keep hearing of smaller homes that are starting to get COVID entering into their homes. And it really does create a lot of stress on yourself, on managing, trying to take care of your residents, trying to figure out what's the best thing you can do for them. Following the state guidelines, there's just a lot. Then also the Department of Labor, there's a lot of issues related to how do you pay for these people? How do you manage paying staff who are out? Are they COVID positive or they've been exposed? How do you pay for them? There's a lot of questions that we have related to COVID that I think many of us still don't know until we get into that situation. So I think it'll be really a great education piece. I think you know, if everybody could attend and bring their concerns or their questions and their comments, I think as a group we can come together to try to talk through those different challenges that we've all had to take on during this year. And you know, and then eventually we'll talk about vacations, what vacation in the future is going to look like, because I know I need one. But anyway, so I look forward to having, I'm looking forward to having an open discussion about COVID and bringing some wonderful information that we definitely have also learned along the way.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Like, we will make sure right after this, you'll start getting emails in the next day or two regarding the upcoming education that Rachel and Sherry are going to be offering. We do want it to be a very interactive session. I mean, we all have just immersed ourselves in COVID, but Rachel's perspective is extremely unique because some of us I know are just maybe starting to see positive cases in our homes, and you know, maybe we haven't had any positive cases yet, and just really hearing first case you know, information I think is going to be great for all of us. That does lead me a little bit into our education. You know, things are changing so quick for all of us. We want to make sure that our education is spot on here at CALA. We do want to offer a monthly education. We'd love to hear if there are things that you're wanting more information on, that you're confused about, resources, whatever it might be. If you want to type it in the chat box, we would love to start getting a really good bank of you know, and set our calendar for education. We're also thinking about offering another time once a month where everyone can get together on a call and maybe just talk about issues we're having uniquely, kind of like a support group. That's one of the ideas we've been kind of throwing around. I know personally, being a small homeowner, sometimes I feel like I'm on this small little island all by myself. And I can tell you part of the reason I'm so passionate about CALA is over the past 15 years being in this industry, the only people that have kept me sane are individuals that are on this call right now. I mean, just being able to pick up the phone and talk to Liz or Tamara or Eileen or, you know, I mean, Megan, they really have just kept me sane. And even now more than ever, I feel like we need each other. So that's something else, an idea that we've been throwing around. We want you guys to know that, you know, if you're frustrated or need resources, we're here. We have a great board of people with a lot of knowledge. We have great associate members. I know Good Day Pharmacy is attending today, and we're just here to, you know, try and hook you up with people that might know the answers if we don't. So please go to our website, make sure to reach out to us. Peter and Carol are always manning the emails, and we definitely will find you an answer. I do want to take a little bit of time for Matt, if he doesn't mind, he might not be listening, to introduce himself, just to let our other CALA board members introduce themselves and talk a little bit.
Well, thanks, Nicole. I was listening, but you know how.
I caught you with food in your mouth. I'm sorry.
You have to multitask. You know, we don't get those hour lunches and stuff like that. So, but anyway, my name is Matt Kaufman, and I'm with. I actually have 4 facilities: 1 in Colorado Springs and 3 in Pueblo. I've been in business for 22 years, and I think as Tamara and Rachel mentioned, I think they've been in business for, been in the assisted living business 13 years and have seen some change. I have to agree. I can definitely attest to some change. I don't know if there's anything other than change, but it definitely is definitely starting to edge more and more towards more nursing home regulations. And yeah, we're you know, again, we're dealing with, you know, the COVID and the fact that it is a very big struggle. And again, I'll even argue the fact that a large facility is a very, very tough environment to manage in this pandemic, because with you have the type of residents that, you know, that we have, and we have a lot of mentally ill residents, it's definitely hard to restrict those people to stay in a room or to not move around a facility or to wear a mask. And so we're definitely dealing with those types of issues. And Pueblo has a very high positivity rate down here right now. We're at about 15.3%. So we're bright red down here. So we're testing residents twice a week. We're testing staff twice a week, just to stay under a surveillance guideline. But I just want to say that I myself, and again, I'll attest to the fact, just what Nicole said is, you know, I have a passion to stay connected. And the best way that I found to stay connected was to join an association. And you know, we standing, and again, if you're on an island by yourself, obviously you're not going to get a lot of, you know, have a lot of impact. But in our situation, you know, as an association, it gives you a chance to speak out. And that's what we're trying to do is, you know, we need to speak out, whether it be for ALAC concerns or FGI, but most importantly, you know, to be paid appropriately for the services that we render. You know, and again, I'm a very high population of Medicaid. And so with that being said, you know, our reimbursement rates, you know, dropped recently. But again, our rates did increase here several years ago due to the fact that we actually pushed forward and had a sounding board in the state to get that 24% raise that we had, and to get an adjustment finally, which still didn't get us up to what current costs are. But, you know, if we had not had that, many people right now would not be accepting Medicaid, or, you know, and those people, and those unfortunate people would be without care. So, you know, I think again, the value of being in an association is huge, and it's going to get bigger and bigger as the regulations get stricter and stricter. So, you know, I applaud anybody that's on the board or belongs to the association. And I think it's a valuable time and effort for all of us to put our voice out there, and to, you know, to help to control the environment that we work in. So, but anyway, it's my story, and I live down south.
Thanks, Matt. We really appreciate it. Blake, do you want to introduce yourself and a little bit what you've been working with us on?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I'm Blake Crawford with Assured Partners Senior Living. We're a risk management and insurance broker here. We represent about 4,000 facilities across the United States. So pretty large bandwidth there. And with that, our focus right now is on how COVID is affecting the insurance market, what it's doing to policies, how it's affecting premiums and things like that. And then also as litigation rises based off COVID numbers, both from a state and national level, how we can change the immunity and help the individual facilities with those immunities for COVID cases and litigation based off of that. So lots of work to be done there. But again, with the level of outreach we have with facilities across the nation, we work to try to help keep each one of your all's facilities better protected as well, as much as we can from safety and best practices, things like that. So we do a lot of education as well. So you'll see things from me periodically on that. But again, within the association, also look to help some of the associate members and how they can get more involved and more outreach as well. So they can go to me for some of that stuff.
Thank you, Blake. We're very, very lucky to have you.
All right, thanks.
So I was wondering if Miss Eileen would like to say a couple of words about all the great help she's been giving us.
Sure. So I guess probably I know most of you. I'm Eileen Doherty, and I'm the director of the Colorado Gerontological Society. And when you say I know things, yes, I remember the day that the original rules were passed that forced assisted living to actually have rules. When we started in this business, you didn't have rules. You just kind of operated out there on your own. There were some good places at that point in time, and there were some not so good places at that time. So in terms of the rules themselves, we've seen, as everybody has said, lots and lots of changes. I do agree that they are really migrating toward a much more medical model in terms of delivery of care. Now, I think that's being done in response to the market, which is that the older adults and families are really pushing you guys to take a more frail population. And so that's who's presenting at your front door. And as a result of that, then we have this balance that we have to work with at this point in time, which is a very frail population in many instances that do present with lots of chronic diseases and lots of comorbidities. So in some ways, those of us who are not medical personnel are being asked to provide services to a very frail population. And I think that's why it's being pushed more toward a medical model. I think the idea of really looking at how do we do a better blend of maybe more of a social model and not quite so medical, but still providing the level of care that we need is probably something that the group should address over the next couple of years. I do believe to do that, it will probably require some legislative support. And I do believe that there probably needs to be a different set of regulations for people who run a 3 or 4 bed facility as opposed to a 400 bed facility. I can tell you from having many of you in our assisted living classes over the years for the administrator training, it's always a challenge as to how to teach for somebody who's looking to run a small facility as opposed to somebody who's running a large facility because of the specialization versus the generalization approach. So I'm happy to be a part of the board. And for those of you, if you're looking for the administrator training, we will be offering that the last week of January again. I'm not sure the website is updated at the moment, but if anybody needs to do that, it should be within the next week or so updated. So thank you for the opportunity to join you. I did put in the chat, if any of you have not ever written like letters of support or opposition or however we're going to frame this to the Board of Health. If anybody needs that kind of technical assistance, I'd be happy to spend 5 minutes on the phone with you telling you to make these 3 points. And as Janet can attest, when we did this big thing a couple years ago, you know, once you've done the hard thinking, it's easy to basically just edit those so that they're very poignant and get to your point. I also think that, Nicole, there might be some benefit in organizing a little bit around what those points should be, rather than people just saying, I oppose, because Lyle laid out a little bit ago some of the areas of concern, but I think a sense about which ones, you know, which 2, which 5 are really most critical, I think that would be helpful in terms of just calling attention to the areas where you want additional changes. So you and I can talk offline if you want to about how to coordinate that a little bit better. And then maybe Peter can send out an email or something that says, if you want to join this letter writing campaign on these issues, or have people pick and choose the ones that they're most passionate about, that might make it a better campaign, if you will. Also, I think the fact that you got a media story, we should follow up with Brian Moss and ask him to put on his calendar the Board of Health meeting. I know Brian, so if somebody else doesn't know him, it's easy to reach out to him and ask him to follow that, because I think what you want to keep going in this campaign is that here's story 1, you don't want to drop it. Here's our next step. You know, are we getting any support? So keeping him doing frequent stories, I think, will help with your awareness. So
thanks, Eileen. I did already reach out to him.
Okay.
This morning. I thanked him for helping us out last night. I gave him an idea for a better plan part 2, a perspective maybe from Dr. Lally. And then I will also email him about the Board of Health.
Okay. And I sent him a personal private email as well this morning and thanked him for following up with you. So.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay. That's all for me.
Excellent. Well, that leads us into a couple of, so Liz is also on the call, but isn't really in a good position to talk right now. So I will just doubt her praises. Again, Liz is a nurse practitioner that has worked in this industry for a lot of years, has a lot of amazing homes down south, and she will be helping on the education conference committee, and we are super excited to have her. So with that, I also want to say that some of the exciting things we are working on are what we've kind of already mentioned. It is very important to us that we make sure that the small assisted living homes and their feelings regarding the new rules and regs are clearly dictated and presented at the Board of Health. So we will be doing a letter writing campaign. We're also looking at other situations similar to kind of a petition, but not a petition, that we can access on the CALA website. So expect to see emails in the very near future, probably in the next several days, regarding the letter writing campaign, the points that maybe we all need to focus on, addresses, and those types of things. The other thing we're really excited that we've been working on, and I think this was an idea of Jeff's or Lyle's, or I don't know, the board came up with a great idea that we are going to start creating a survey tracking tool. We're not exactly quite sure how we're going to implement this yet. Peter's been doing some great work and searching out maybe ways for us to do this anonymously, but we would like to check the consistency regarding the surveys that are done. We know that a lot of us have different experiences with our surveys, and we want to just for future use, whether it's in legislation, whether it's talking to the department. We want to come up with some good data regarding what we're all seeing with our surveys, with our deficiencies, how writing plan of corrections are going, and even if you're doing an IDR. We would really like to be able to support each other in all of these things. So please reach out and let us know. And once we get that survey tracking tool, we'll definitely probably do an education on it, kind of, walk through step by step and what the data will be used for. But with the new rules and regs and the new survey process coming out effective January 1st, we just felt like it was really important that we started looking at some of these things. Let me double check. I'm going to check in the chat. Jeff, can you think of anything else that I'm missing? You're muted, my friend.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Cannot offhand. We could probably go another hour on the effort that's been put in, the details, the work that's gone towards getting lined up to confront CDPHE and some others in going through this, but we don't have time for that today. But I think I might just ask, and I don't know if we're going to have, I'm hoping we have maybe a little time for a Q&A session here. Those of you who are listening on, I want to just encourage you that, your board members are all volunteer, and now most of the support staff, for the most part, is working for you all on a volunteer basis in order to keep us rolling. But it does take some funds to keep the lights on and to do the things that we have got to do. It takes some systems work and a little bit of marketing. There's just, there's a number of things that have to happen in order to keep all this running. So just humbly, I want to ask that those of you who are not CALA members, that you consider that now, that we do have value in place for you at this point. It will take a little time for it to come to fruition, but we want you to know it's underway, and we want you to know that we're an association that's worth joining and banding together with for what's coming very soon in 2021.
Jeff, I have something to add to that if I could.
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
Nicole, we need to give a shout out to Peter from Digital Marketing Dude. He has done an awesome job with us. We keep throwing stuff at him. Can you do this, Peter? Okay, now we want to do this. Can you do this? Is this possible? And he has been an amazing job for us of getting stuff out, getting the press release out, notifying you guys, updating the website. He has just done a phenomenal job for us. So Peter, thank you for your efforts.
Yes.
My pleasure, really. Happy to help.
The next thing, we would like to open it to question and answers, or questions, and hopefully we have the answers. I know that, any myths or any questions regarding CALA, we would love to take time to answer those. You can either do them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and feel free to ask the question. And then we'll just kind of move from there. I do know that we definitely are going to be contacting the associate members. I know Carol's been working on some amazing, exciting things to offer to our associate members. And then Janet and Rachel will be reaching out to everybody as well. Let me see if I have anything in the chat. So Priscilla asked, will the state be conducting surveys in December or will they wait till July 2021? Yes, we are hearing that surveys are continuing to move forward. So I think we all can plan on expecting that not to slow down much, except that December, that last week in December to January, people take time off, but I'm assuming we're gonna see them. And thank you, Michelle, for just sharing that you had one last week.
Michelle, what kind of guidelines, what were they using when they came over to do your survey?
It was a re-isolation survey. It was an isolation plan resurvey.
What prompt that?
That's a good question.
Interesting.
I don't know, because we're building. I don't know.
We had an infection control follow-up survey just to see if we were doing what we were supposed to do.
When was yours, Francis?
3 weeks ago, I think, give or take. 3 weeks ago. They only did one location though, even though I don't get it. So.
Let me apologize. It was not last week. It was the week before last, because every day does run together.
Hey, maybe
so Francis, I think they were on a roll that week.
Must have been, but I get just confused by they only go to one of our locations, even though we have.
They only went to one of ours.
Yeah. So
of course I'm up at 5 a.m. dressed and ready to run, because you think when they go to one building, they're going to come to the remaining.
Yep. No, they were only in there for about an hour. They just looked at our binder of what we did for the corrections, and that was it.
Same here.
Michelle, was that a research? Was that a second one for you because of a problem?
It was a second one of the same house, yeah. Okay. And we've not had COVID. We've not.
But did you guys get any type of issue on the first one?
Nope.
No kidding.
Ours was a spacing one. We had a spacing of residents for our first tag that we got.
Oh, right.
So that's why they came back, and they were upset about our window visits as well too. So that's why they wanted to see what we were doing for that. And they were happy with how we did it, I guess. I don't know. I still don't know exactly what they're looking for, because at one point we were arguing about us having to move furniture around the building. I'm like, I have nowhere to move stuff. And so it was a big battle about where to put chairs and couches. And I'm like, we don't have a lot of space.
Well, it's my understanding that right now what they're doing with surveys to the end of the year are going to be mostly the COVID surveys and things that have to do with that. Because of the COVID outbreak, they're limiting to 2 people coming in and staying there a very short period of time because of the COVID outbreak. I don't think that we're going to see much more than that. Although they did state to us that they have, I think it was 6 or 8 new surveyors, and that at the first of the year, they will be coming out with full guns. But I'm not sure how they're going to be able to do that either with the COVID and being able to go into residents' rooms and dealing with the other people. So I really, it is my thought from talking to Elaine and some of the other Zooms that I have been on myself, that I don't see anything but COVID until the end of the year.
Like Francis, ours was very short. I think it lasted 30 to 45 minutes. They came in, stood in one place, looked around, asked for the isolation plan binder, asked a couple questions, and then they left.
Well, after the kind of the fuss that we made in May about them coming in, they did limit it. They're only supposed to be in there no more than 2.5 hours, and no more than 2 surveyors, during the COVID. And that's supposed to have been, since once was that, you guys, May or June when that came out? They changed it. I think it was June, maybe June or July. So that's what that's what the criteria is supposed to be right now during COVID, unless they come into anything that's, a major problem.
So my house is in the middle of an outbreak. My 14-day period is over December 3rd. They showed up yesterday for a survey. They were there for 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
So they were there for 6 hours, and I only have 1 positive COVID patient there, and I have 7 other non-COVID patients. I do not have an isolation binder. So later on after this, I'd like to touch base with a couple of you to really understand what an isolation binder is. They did not ask me for an isolation binder. They went into my QMP. They did hit me up on my furniture. I have a couple of entertainment couches, and nobody's out in my main rooms right now. Everybody's isolated in their rooms. because I'm December 3rd is my 14 day. I'm over on December 3rd. So everybody's been isolated as much as they can. You know, I have some shared rooms, but they're still isolated in their rooms. But they hit me on the couches. They hit me on the furniture. They did not ask me for an isolation boundary. They went over my QMP. They hit a couple of my people for, again, some glove issues or the mask not fitting right. Their N95s that weren't fitting right. And I kind of went into it with them. Like, again, I don't have access to fit testing. Like, I can't fit test all my people. You know, I mean, I don't know what they'd like me to do about that, but they were really getting me on fit testing. And again, nobody's in my house. I mean, my house is 4,200 square feet. So it's a pretty big house, and nobody was there. They're all in their rooms. And they went in and peeked in each room. They tried to talk to a couple each residents. They spent time talking to residents. Then they got into the resident books and started going through the resident books, just like a regular survey.
Joe, let me ask you this, though. I don't mean to interrupt you. How many times have they been out to your house for COVID issues before this? How many times have they been and checked you?
One time.
They've been to that house one time. This is their second time to come out to make sure that the violations that you had the first time were corrected.
Yeah, and the first time my violations were the caregivers touching their gloves and touching other things.
That happens all the time.
The violation was during food handling. One lady went and took their food to their room and didn't take her gloves off and came back and grabbed another plate and went to another room. So those were pretty simple fixes, you know, that they just kind of forgot. Again, you know, unless you're standing over them, I think, you know, again, is it a violation? Yes, it's a deficiency, but I think they're, you know, in the grand scheme of things, our caregivers aren't really trained that way. They're getting better at it because we're on them. We're definitely on them. But they were all in the resident books this time. You know, they were looking at my MAR. They weren't necessarily looking at COVID stuff. They didn't find anything. And she was supposed to do an exit interview with me. And I had to leave to go do some other stuff. And she never called me for an exit interview or anything. And I haven't heard back from them today.
Well, that's interesting. I was told they're not supposed to be there any longer than 2.5 hours unless they find issues that they find that they're concerning, that they're really concerned about. So that's kind of puzzling to me.
Janelle, I don't think that's true if you have an outbreak.
Oh, if you have an outbreak. Okay.
Yeah, he has an outbreak.
Right, that makes more sense. Okay.
Joe, did they come out in full PPE and N95s knowing that you had an active outbreak?
No, they didn't. I gave them face shields because at that location, I have some face shields there, you know, extra face shields at the first counter when you walk in. And then my one had an N95 or a KN95. And then my manager gave the other surveyor an N95.
Wow.
That's concerning.
They came without masks.
I know.
Well,
that's so nice of you to take your supplies.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there when they first got there at 7. I got there at like 7:25 or 7:30. You know, after you get the call, you drive over there. So, you know, I got there a little late. So they had the face shields on one of them had my face shield on, and the other one had another face shield. And then they were both wearing the KN95s. But later on, after I talked to my manager, she said she gave one of them. And I don't know if it's because hers broke or I didn't get any logistics on that. So
your caregiver let them in?
Yeah. I mean, you let them at the door. Yeah. I mean, let them in, signed them in, checked them in, did everything they were supposed to do.
Michelle, I don't know if you have to wait for the administrator to come in, but I was told when I said I wasn't going to let them in the very beginning of this because they could be COVID positive, I was told that they'd yank my license if I didn't let them in.
And that's true. Here's the thing. You're not refusing them to come do a survey, but they can certainly wait.
For the administrator.
It is okay for them to wait.
Well, that's
but
what
it
my
is
sign
not
says
okay
on my door.
to say they cannot survey you.
They can wait up to 2 to 2.5 hours if I remember by the regulations. I can't remember, but it's not immediate. You do not have to let them in immediately. That is for certain. That's in Chapter 7 as well, too.
I know my staff has been instructed that they're not allowed to come into my house until I'm there, that they have to wait for the administrator to show up.
Me, if I may, just once again encourage you all to. This is right in the sweet spot of what we're talking about in terms of things that need to be. We feel like need to be rectified with CDPHE. Just a friendly reminder again that those of you that can make the Vern Harris's meeting tomorrow at I believe it's at 7. You'll see a lot of us, the same people on that are on this call, on that call as well. Janelle Molina, for those of you who don't know, she helped to author a lot of people had input on that. So I know I'm gonna miss somebody, but Janelle, Nicole, Janet was the primary author of that document that was shown on News Channel 4 last night. And so just a friendly reminder, try to make that meeting tomorrow night if you can. And I believe the entire agenda is for COVID and these items specifically.
You know what? I just got notified from Pat Cook that the small ALR guidelines are out. So she's posted them to the chat. We need to save that.
For COVID?
Yeah.
For COVID,
for COVID.
yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
And I do think that, we can come together and really start to create some good, solid questions. I do think with the spike in COVID, the concerns are very valid, that they should be bringing their own complete PPE for their protection as well. I mean, these surveyors shouldn't be taking COVID home to their families either. And then furthermore, I do think at one time, Randy had said that they were testing the surveyors once a month is all. And now that we have this spike and tests are so readily available, I do think it's a good idea to ask the department too, to see if they've upped their testing for the surveyors, because if they're spending that amount of time, they're definitely exposing themselves and others possibly.
Nicole, aren't we in violation of the health guidelines if we aren't we only allowed to let external providers in if they're tested twice a week? That's part of that health guidelines that was released that started November 20th. So
that's CMS. That's a federal level. So we're mandated under the federal level under the CMS. We adopted, Colorado doesn't always adopt the federal level or deal with the CMS. But in this option, they did adopt the CMS guidelines, which means if we are in the red, then all outside personnel has to be tested once a week. So like home health.
No, it's twice now, Joe. Joe, it's twice because it's above 10% infectivity.
Oh, is it twice now? Okay.
Yeah. If it's below 10%, it's once a week. But my question is, can we use that then to put the surveyors to the test? Is they've got to show us their negative test that they've been tested twice, because I'm 100% believer that the COVID's coming in from third parties that we don't have control over, whether it's PT, OT, speech, providers, all that stuff. I mean, I think maybe some of our staff, but again, we just don't have that many bodies through the door. So when you have these on a regular basis, right, it's when we have these outside providers come in that we don't have control over. That's my biggest concern, is where you guys been? What other facility have you been in? Because we've been starting to ask providers now, what facilities are you going to? So I can track if they're in a current outbreak, and if they are, they're not coming in. That's a part of our questionnaire now, is what other facilities are you going into?
That's good.
I mean, with the rates what they are, at very least, everybody in this industry should be testing twice a week. Doctors, PT, OT, speech, EMS, fire, police, the health department, everybody should be. I know Tammy Littlefield would like to say something. So Tammy, do you want to then speak away?
I do. I had am I muted?
No.
Am I?
I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had a resurvey, infection control resurvey on Friday. Sorry. I'm on the phone. Can you please one sec? And I had a deficiency in the beginning because my outside provider form asked where they have been in the last 7 days. And the surveyor said, we have to ask outside providers where they've been the last 14 days. And I said, you want every facility? And she said, I want every establishment. I said, so I need to ask them their personal life questions as well. Restaurants, grocery stores, shopping, whatever, and facilities. And she said, yes. Then I asked her if she had a COVID test recently, and she said she will not disclose that to me when and where she had it. I said, do you have the documentation that shows you're COVID negative? And she said, I don't need to disclose that to you. But she did not ask me if I've tested my facilities or myself.
Wow. Who was this, Tammy? Was this with the CDPHE?
Yes, it was 2 surveyors on Friday.
Who were their names by chance?
Yeah.
Susan was one of them, and the other one is a new gal. I don't recall her name, and might have been Amy. I'm not sure.
That was this Friday?
3 days ago, 4 or 5 days, 4 days ago, Friday. Yes.
After Thanksgiving. Wow.
They have to disclose that because it's a requirement to enter in our building is negative COVID test twice a week, and it's clearly written by the governors in the state order. So they're violating.
I agree.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry.
I think we need to point that out to them, guys. I think we need to point that out in our next meeting with them. I think we all need to be consistent and get business cards so that we have a record of who's where and what they're doing.
I agree. And I don't feel that I need to ask my InnovAge nurse that comes to see one of my residents every day for insulin, where she has been in her personal life every 14 days.
Tammy, you don't have time for that. None of us have time for that, okay?
No. Well, I don't have enough paper for that. So she said for sure that would be a deficiency for documentation.
Yeah, so I think that we should ask, so the other thing we've been working with is the strike force. Janet and some of us have a contact with the strike force, Peter, and we've been meeting with him weekly to every other week. And so I think that that's something we could bring up to him, that we need this resolved. I think even just a blanket statement regarding the policy and procedure that the health department is currently going under, what their testing protocols are. I mean, seriously, that's if they just make a blanket statement, then we'd all know, instead of all of this. And then also their beliefs on entering the facility right now and what type of PPE. I mean, again, they shouldn't be coming and bringing it into our homes, but they also shouldn't be taking it to theirs either, right? I mean, the whole goal is to slow down the spread of COVID. So, Janet, I'm not sure when our next meeting is with Peter with the strike force, but we will get this to them urgently and see what kind of resolution and information we can get about what their processes are now that we're in a spike.
Well, and I think too, you have to see the reg. You know, when they come at you, like when she came at you without, I would want to see the regulation. I'd say show me in the guidelines where it says that, and show me in the regulations where it says that. So how can she cite you with a deficiency if there's nothing to back it up?
Our next meeting with Peter Myers is a week from today, so we have a little bit of time to collect this information, and we need to do our homework again and find out where it's listed and what it is, so we can have some, some firepower behind us, because you know how slippery they can be.
Peter's been really good, though. In the defense of Peter, he really has been pretty transparent and helpful with us. Yeah. And so that's been really good to see. And I feel like he's been a really good entry for us to get some of the things we need done. And he's just flat out told us things they can do and they can't do. So again, email the CALA website, or I can type my email, Janet, if you want to type your email into the chat box. You guys can feel free to email any of us at any time, especially regarding these concerns around COVID and the survey issues, because we really want to start tracking these
things. Francis, did we get this one answered for you? If I may, it says here, you going to email our membership information.
Sign up. How do we sign up is my question, Jeff. That's what I'm asking, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know. Janet, do you know what we can send to people for that to get?
No, we'll get it to you, Francis. We can do that. It's on the CALA website. Yeah, and thank you for doing that, Francis. We had a discussion about 8 o'clock last night on that. Come on, join. So thank you.
I have a quick question too. Now I'm thinking of COVID. I know for vaccinations, we signed up with Warp Speed through the CDC and put down our locations and stuff like that. And I know we're considered 1A of, inpatient healthcare services, including assisted living. But do you know if they're going to prioritize larger versus smaller? Is that something we need to be concerned with about our staff not getting access to the vaccine? I don't know if I'm being paranoid or if it's a good question.
I think it's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Janet, do you know the answer to that yet?
I do not, but I got it on the list.
Okay.
I think it depends too who you contracted with. And I think that you could contact Good Day Pharmacy, or I'm not sure who your pharmacy is, to see if they're getting the vaccine. I know I had the same concern, and I reached out to Good Day because I felt like, you know, CVS and Walgreens are gonna have their hands full, and I was worried that we were just gonna be little guys to them. So that might be a good place to start.
Yeah,
I got confirmation from Walgreens that they already reached out to me to tell me that we would be their location for the vaccination, I guess.
I haven't heard that yet. I'm okay. I will look into it. That's good to know. That's great to hear, though. That's encouraging. So I'm really encouraged to hear that.
Though those, I realize, Nicole, we're probably either out of time or running out of time. Those of you that are still on the call here, and by the way, thank you so much for staying on with us. Would one or two of you be willing to chime in here and tell us? We'd really like to hear from some more of you. Tell us, is and this may be a dumb question, but is COVID the number one thing that you're struggling with at this point, or are there other compliance issues that you're up against? And is there any way, how can we help you all with these things? Are there some other folks with comments out there?
This is Margaret Ray.
Hello, Margaret.
Hi, great meeting, guys. I'll tell you that this has been terrific. What we're seeing with our clients is we're having passing the initial surveys, and like someone said earlier that they didn't visit the rest of his homes. This gentleman has been in every home, and they have in every home they haven't written any infection control except one person with the glove incident type thing. But they're then going and looking at other things. So there'll be other tags that they're citing. So I don't know whether that's part of the regular routine, whether they're teaching the new crews or what they're doing. But they're finding in addition to the infection control, we've had deficiencies written. Another strange thing is right now, when a facility has a directed plan of correction, we are often contacted, and we went in and helped them, or we had helped them with some of their infection control things. Now we're in the end of our visits, and we have said we don't feel comfortable going in. That we don't feel comfortable going in, which is how we're standing, okay? They have told us that we have to make an on-site visit. Now, we're not gonna go any further with that. However, we're trying to work that out with the health department. Plus, another little bit of information is that I have had a phone call and people have been involved legally, that they're concerned about the legal options. Well, if we're telling people that they are primary people or necessary, I mean, I agree with someone who said earlier that they had to stop those folks from coming in. I certainly would stop us from going in. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm. If we can't do it with one, then how does the health department signify that we can go in with others? So I want to add my 2 cents, but I am just overjoyed with this meeting. Overjoyed.
That's great. Thank you, Margaret.
Those of you who don't know, Margaret is pretty much a statewide consultant on assisted living folks, and Margaret was my trainer for. She helped me to get I got my administrator license through her. It's so good to hear from you, Margaret.
Well, it's good to hear from Kawa. This all sounds good.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your support.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Before we dismiss the meeting, I wanted to let you guys all know we are still looking for an alternative site, like a COVID recovery site, and still pushing on that. There was one open in Connecticut that was on the internet, and we are still pushing aggressively ahead to try to make that an option. None of us believes that any of us should be quarantining and isolating. So we are still pushing for that. So just wanted to make you guys aware of that. We have not stopped and we have not thrown in the towel on that fight yet.
Pat Cook said yesterday that there was a recovery site in Denver. And when I chatted with her, but I didn't get an answer back on that. So I don't know where that recovery site is or what she was talking about exactly.
The only ones I've been able to find is Orchard Park, Powerback Rehab, and Sloan's Lake Rehab is the only three that I've reached out to.
Powerback's not taking anybody right now.
They must be full.
They're full. They have an outbreak.
Powerback won't do it. Most won't do it.
Powerback admitted 2 of my patients today. Powerback took 2 of my people today.
Okay, because last week, my daughter's a home healthcare nurse. They tried to put somebody in there, and they told her that had COVID for recovery. And they must have had some openings because as of last Wednesday, they told her they were full and they couldn't take her patient.
So that doesn't say they're not full on a regular basis. You guys, those beds are running full. They both told me they fill the bed within a half hour from a hospital admission. So it's not a great option for us.
And that's kind of what our whole goal is we're just pushing for options. We're pushing for resources.
Yeah.
So that, all of us as administrators can make our choice regarding our population and our clients to see if we can quarantine in place, or if we do need to have a resource to have our clients go somewhere else in quarantine. So it's really, really important. We're continuing to aggressively work on this. And I think please email us. Does anybody have any other last thoughts? I mean, all I can say is thank you so much for spending the past hour and 20 minutes with us. I know your time is super precious. We just can't thank you enough. And we want to hear from you. I can't express enough. We want to hear from every single one of you regarding everything.
I want to give a big thank you to, Nicole, Janet, the whole new board and stuff. I feel a sense of optimism. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing and all the work behind the scenes that I don't think we'll ever truly know how much you guys have done. So a big kudos and thank you to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have one last thing. We're still aggressively working that we could be able to do a direct admit to a skilled nursing unit. Right now, CMS has declined that waiver. So that's the holdup right now. Is we can't send the residents to the hospital because they'll decline them, but we also can't do a direct admit to a nursing home. So I just want to make you guys aware that we still have that on the radar screen and are still aggressively working that angle.
Janet, are they going to address the insurance issue for these SNFs that have more COVID cases because they do the direct admit? Is that part of that whole program that they're
working? It is part of the program that Peter Myers is working on from the State Health Department, because I outlined a couple of hiccups. One, they get an increase of liability because they look like they failed their infectious control. 2, do they get more dollars for admitting COVID residents? And so they're looking at that. And 3, we need a direct admission process. We need CMS to get out of the way that right now, skilled nursing, it'll take you a day and a half to 3 days to get somebody admitted to a skilled nursing unit. So that's what we're working on. So.
Well, excellent. Thank you guys so much. Please watch your emails for the membership information, the education information. The emails are in the chat. Email us. We will continue also to do consistent updates, and we don't want to blow up your emails because we know that everyone's getting so many as is. So we might do one, like just catch up a week, letting everybody know what we've been working on and our progress through the week with all the different committees. We need help. So anybody that wants to jump on a committee, please let us know. We really, really, really would love the help, and just thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
And don't forget to watch Rachel on the CBS thing because it's posted to Cala. It was awesome.
And also, don't forget 7 p.m. Tomorrow night is more. It's a combo Cala and Denver ALR roundtable on COVID.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
With that, we will wrap it up, and thank you so much.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you all.
Thank you, everybody.